guys, it's April, and I'm back! Not that anybody really knew that I was gone. I'm just letting you know that I'm back anyways, and I'm trying to find my groove again. See if I can do this whole video thing without making a complete fool of myself. That is not a guarantee at all. So it is the end of June, so this means this is my June wrap-up. I did a Read-o-Rama wrap-up in the middle of the month, so all of those books will be in that wrap-up. I won't cover those here because then this would be like really long. But I do have a good handful of books to talk to you about today. Also, as I mentioned, I did Read-o-Rama in the middle of the month. I did a whole bunch of vlogs that covered the whole thing. If you want to check those out, I'm just gonna like tout the awesomeness of those right now. So go do that if you like watching vlogs and you want to see me be very awkward. It's a thing. So the first book I want to talk about is this beautiful book, and this is League of Dragons by Naomi Novik. This is the last in the Tamara series, where dragons take part in the Napoleonic War. The whole journey through this whole series has been really interesting. I will admit, I didn't know a lot about the whole Napoleonic War and all of that. I just knew that at the end Napoleon lost, obviously, because we're not under French regime right now. But to see how dragons interact with different cultures and how different cultures view dragons and their intellect, and just seeing how humans and dragons may or may not interact in different cultures and things like that. That is what I really liked about most of the series. I did enjoy the full journey. There were a lot of ups and downs, but if you like dragons and you have a thing about history, this is a fairly interesting read, so I highly recommend it to you. I then picked up a short story called The Landlady by Roald Dahl. This story, I don't even know how to explain it. I can't really give a synopsis because it's a short story, but it's safe to say that there's awkward people and taxidermy involved, and therefore it is a very awesome short story. It was just this really eerie story. You couldn't quite pinpoint why it was eerie, but it was. And woo. Yeah, that was a thing. I also finally got a chance to pick up The Princess Diaries by Carrie Fisher. I have always been a Star Wars fan, and Princess Leia has always been one of my favorite characters. And with the passing of Carrie Fisher, I've wanted to learn more about her as a person. So when I got my hands on this, I was really excited. I have to point out also that I did this in audio format, in which Carrie Fisher actually read the book, and it was a moment. When it first started, there was a little bit of fangirling, there was a little bit of nostalgia, and then there was I don't even know how to explain it. It was happiness and sadness all rolled up into one. And I'm really glad that I did do this in audio format, just to hear Carrie Fisher's words through Carrie Fisher's mouth. It was a joy, and I really truly enjoyed hearing about the Star Wars franchise from her perspective. And then just hearing a little bit about the backstory between her and Harrison Ford and how some of that stuff kind of played out. I am very interested in picking up some more of her books, so that will probably be in a lot of my lists going forward. I also picked up Dark Matter and the Dinosaurs by Lisa Randall. This is a very scientific mumbo jumbo of different things on how dark matter may have played into the fact that it's hit the earth and killed the dinosaurs. It was something I picked up on a whim. I was in the car with my fiance. He's a physicist, and so he likes all of this stuff. I like all this stuff. I like science in general. So just hearing this perspective of what dark matter is and how it could be playing and interacting with the universe, it was something that I'm glad I know a little bit more about, I guess. I then read Deadly Fate by Heather Graham. This is one of my guilty pleasure reads. Heather Graham and her supernatural thriller, mystery, romance things are always something that if I want something to just turn off my brain with, this is what I pick up. Deadly Fate takes place in Alaska, in which we have this serial killer who is killing reality stars and posing them in past murder setups, trying to make a name for himself, and things just get messy and gory. And of course you have talking to ghosts, and that's why I kind of picked it up to begin with. And no, this isn't some epic work of literature, but it is something that I enjoy reading. Yeah. I also got a chance to read Creative Inc. by Ed Catmull. This is the story of Pixar and the management style of Pixar. I work in the creative field, and so I deal with a lot of the same things that Catmull talks about in this story, and just seeing how the issues that I deal with in my regular job are issues that they were seeing at Pixar as well, and how they handled all of that and still kept this really creative environment. I was deeply interested in a lot of that, and just seeing how some of these Pixar movies evolved from what they originally started at. It turned on, it was good to see. It got some things moving in my brain about where I'm going with my future and all of that, and for that I am very thankful. I also learned a lot about the Pixar company that I didn't realize in the past. I don't know why I didn't put this together before, but Steve Jobs was a part of Pixar for a while there, and then this whole kind of starting out with Disney and then eventually joining up with Disney. The history of Pixar is fascinating. So if you want to learn more about Pixar, this is a pretty good book to pick up. It's got some management stuff thrown in as well, but I still found it really fascinating. I then also finally picked up The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is a story about a man who goes back to his childhood home and walks to the end of the lane, where he starts to reminisce about his past and how he met a girl there who called that pond her ocean. It is a trippy read, and I liked it for it. It was very Neil Gaiman. It had a lot of the fantastical elements in it and a lot of things that tied into growing up and what it means when tragic events hit the family and how one deals with that. And it wasn't a long read by any means, but I just like the way that Neil Gaiman throws human elements in with this fantastical element, and they all seem to come together in this really whimsical but serious and deep way. I also did a reread of The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Gilman. This is a story that I read in school forever ago, and it was one of those things that I'm like, oh, I'll pick it up again just to see if I have some of the same things going on in this story. It's a story that gets creepy towards the end. It's got a lot to do with mental illness and things like that, and of course this ridiculous yellow wallpaper, and yes, it gave me creepy goosebumps the same way it did way back when, and that was the thing. I also got to pick up Every Heart a Doorway by McGuire. This is one that I've heard everywhere on Facebook, and I was excited to finally pick it up. It is the story about a boarding school for children who come back from different lands and they just can't deal with it. They're trying and struggling to find their way back into those lands. It centers around this girl named Nancy who went to an underworld and is trying to deal with coming back and people not accepting her for what she is now and really wanting to go back. I like the story because it deals with all of these different kinds of worlds and how they affect people in different ways. And you've got this nonsense and this logic in the Fae and this Alice in Wonderland and this. It's a mashup of so many different literary references that I couldn't not stop reading this. I think that sentence made sense. It was a good look into the human nature and human psychology, and it had a lot of interesting elements that played into the story, and so I really enjoyed reading it. So those were all of the books that I have read this month, minus the ones I did for Read-o-Rama. If you want to and you haven't checked those out yet, once again, I'll let you know that those exist. Those are a thing. But I thought it was a fairly interesting month reading-wise and event-wise and all of those things-wise. I am ready for the rest of this year. I'm good with this month being over. Tell me down below what your favorite read was this month, and I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.